Okay, share the screen. And we need to go right here. It's AI webinar right here. And we'll be talking about what's new in AI. And that's the plan. But for those people who are here for the first time, basically what we're discussing is what's new that week. Just what happened that week. We are also talking about what happened before, and that's about 3 years coming to a broadcast number 100 requests on how to celebrate our welcome. And the first thing that people ask, how do I learn all of that? That's a lot that you are talking about here, Mark. So what is that we're doing? Okay, right here. If you want to learn what we've been doing, it is a complete list. That list by now is up to 95, maybe a bit more. And whatever new thing comes up, I go through the course. I also copy the materials whenever it's possible. I bring it into my repository right here, and then I make sure that it works. One of them I'll show you today, how it basically works. They all work the same way. That is why we are doing this, just to keep current. And to quote from the gurus, Andrew A., his quote was that, first of all, it's not that programmers will be replaced by AI. It's that the programmers who do not use AI will be replaced by those who use AI. And I think by now, everybody would agree that life is much easier, it's much more fun. That's what I'm talking about here with AI. That is number one. Another thing that he says, if you ask him 10 years ago, should you use, let's say, Python or any coding? We'll come back to that. So if you ask, should you do that? He would say, no, don't do it because, it's too many details. And now he changed his mind completely, turned about. And he says, guys, yeah, learn it. And where is it? Well, let's go back to our learning path. You will find learning AI with Python. So let's search for maybe Python. Okay, AI Python for beginners. And what I notice is that it's not just Python for beginners, even though that's what it is, but also AI Python, because there are three people in the room. It's the student, it's the teacher, and it is AI. And his screen includes the three entities. All right, now with that introduction, so what happened? What I want to start with is changing the order, talking to your data with LangChain. That is because it's a very popular architecture. Now, I still haven't found oh, but by the way, you need that link. Let me give you that link. It's a bit.ly link so that you can chat here. I'm giving you that bit.ly link. You can type it right here. Yeah, my fault from the very beginning. So you can click on that link. If it is not clickable for any reason, you can right away type whatever it says, and then you'll be on. So now once you're on, these are all open documents. You will be able to look at our webinar, whatever additional materials are there, and at our learning path, the one that I just showed you. All right, with that, you know where to start. Now I'll tell you where you will finish. So all of my labs are found under, wait, that's too much. They are all found right here on the GitHub, Elephant Scale, and AI, OpenAI Labs. That's all open. So let me give you that link. You might be able to use it. That corresponds roughly to the spreadsheet that I showed you. All of the labs are here. Okay, I'm giving you that on the chat. Chat, where are you? Here on the chat. That's the link. But for my classes, and that's what I will show you, I copy these labs, I polish them, run through them a few times, make sure I have the keys there. And then it comes to the students. That's the polished product. It comes as a build, how to build AI apps. Okay, going back to what Andrew Ng has said is that, you know, I'll show you the slide out of my class. These are my classes. Every trainer gets his own, her own folder, and then free to go. But what I need is a slide from there. Students, that's the slide. Let me show you that slide. Download. There you are. So that's my regular introductory slide, and it's much better to just follow that than invent. But the very beginning you don't need. What you need is this. First of all, that's Andrew Ng telling everyone how easy life has become. Yes, if you do AI, if you're building Anthropic, let's say, that's an interesting enterprise, but not too many people do it. In the analogy of AI and electricity, that will be making your electricity plant that would be scalable and that would withstand outages. So it's another story. But if you're just building your applications, then Andrew saying, it's the whole world. He also gives the prices. Let me make it bigger. Right? Gives you the prices, and you see how the prices are going down, and that's a great place to be and build your app. So if you are, before we go to this magician slide, if you are building apps, just tell me so that at least I'm not the only one talking, but you also do that. Here you are. Are you building AI applications? Okay, and just tell me a few words if you are doing scraping. Well, I do scraping a lot. Anybody else? Well, Steven, tell us exactly what kind of scraping, what tools do you use? Now, let's make it a workshop. Let us exchange ideas. Just type it, and I will later or right now reply with my own what kind of scraping I do, and especially would be interested in scraping with AI. So that's what he said, and that's what I said. So, yes. Oh, wow, Lanson, that's interesting. Podcast recommender system, that will be very cool. Awesome. You know what? It makes sense, guy, to copy what you do here, and maybe next time we will kind of try to do something with it. At least I can get in touch and see if you want to talk about this. I am still sharing the screen. Therefore, I'm going to that place where we are, where we run. And where is that? This one. And as potential ideas for next time, that will be potential ideas for next time. I have not done that other thing, so it's right it belongs here. That's what you're using. Of course, Selenium. Now, I will put it in here and we'll discuss if you guys have other ideas because Beautiful Soup and Selenium is the classic combination. But you can do better and more fun. So I'm putting it there as potential contribution from you guys. Okay, great. And then Greg is doing stuff. Wow, that's very smart. I need to know who does what. So that was Steven doesn't copy. Okay, so I'll just type Lancer. Lance is doing that, and Steven is doing that, and Greg is doing that, and Steve, that's not Steven, very important. Guys, you really gladden my heart a lot because that's the feedback now. And it also justifies what I am presenting to you. So that's Steve. And Paul, crawling with rag. That's very interesting. Not just using rag, which is the subject of today, but crawling with rag. So that's all. That's very rich crop stuff. And now we can continue. Wonderful. Okay, so we were right here looking into the future. But what I wanted to show is my lab about red, about exactly that. So all of the labs are the same. So what I wanted to say is that I leave the students now with the knowledge that they can do magic. It used to be what I showed on this page. I'm a terrible illustrator. My wife is amazingly perfect illustrator, and she has done 3,000 illustrations by selecting them from the world art. That's another story, but I don't bother her for that. And the guy is confused on the left, but he is happy magician on the right. That's what now students who leave my class, that's what they feel, and it's not me at all. It's AI. All right, if so, then I can show you the lab. The lab that I'm going to show you is found here in the OpenAI labs. AI labs. Around 30 or 40, let's find that here. It's talking to your data. That's exactly the reg architecture. That's where okay, LangChain with LangChain. What is good about that particular set of labs is that it's all local. You don't depend on anybody else's service, except for AI, of course. So that's essentially what I'm doing, but I will show you the already prepared and cooked and looking good lab that I'm using in actual work, which is not that far. It's essentially the same code, just making sure that it works. So I'm giving that to you here so that you will know what I did talking to your data with LangChain. And what we do is the same thing. We close these slides. Then we go to the right place where we have cloned the lab. In my case, I combine all of them under that. Do I need to pull anything? No, it's all good. And so where is talking to your data? No, I'm in grep. Boy, we'll just find it. It's chat with your own, not talking chat. If it was a smart chat, it would understand what I mean. Chat with your own data. We use a LinkedIn. Okay, let's do that. And what we do is then run through the how to run it. Now, how to run it is found at the top because how to run is the same for all of them. How to run it the first time tells you how you need to set the environment up, but that's the first time and it creates a virtual environment for you. Once you got this, you want to know how to run it the next time. Okay, that will be here. And it's very simple instruction. First, you source that what you created, RAM sourcing. And that means for those people who are not familiar with it yet, is that you're creating your own personal virtual machine, which is local and everything now goes from there. For example, if I say which Python, I think that will point to that particular Python. You see, it's pointing to that Python within this directory. That's how I know it works the way I want it. And which Jupyter, which Jupyter, again, it's this local install of Jupyter. Well, if so, all I need to do is to say Jupyter Lab. But before I do, I'll show you one thing. There must be a bunch of keys somewhere. Well, those keys are found in up here in the dot environment. So it is here. The only thing is that I'm not showing that view because that is recorded. So even if you don't get the chance to copy it, later on anybody can. So I should not do it. But it is there. And therefore, if I say Jupyter Lab, it should start. Now, I'm showing you exactly how to run it, but now we'll stop for a second and we'll talk about this reg architecture. So I see talking is continuing, and that's wonderful. But I just taught it, and I created a little diagram. I have it on my Mac, but I don't have a good drawing tool on the Linux. So if you tell me a good drawing tool on the Linux, I will accept it. If not, I will just imitate something. Let's do that. Let's do something. Here we are in Google. So let's go to Google Drive. And let's make a picture. It really doesn't matter where. So I'm going to pollute my space and just create a new file. Drive. New file. Google Drawing. And guys, I don't know about you, but I'm not a great fan of Google Drawing. But in any case, what we need to talk about is reg. So those who just use it, they know full well what it is. For those who don't, that's what it looks like. So we will use the simplest possible way of doing it. You have your query. So the simplest way, how you would like to treat it, is send it to AI. That's what it would be. Let's add some picture. No, I'm not very familiar with that. I apologize for that. But let's insert anything. Since I don't have anything very nice, we will insert about word art. Okay, AI. Yeah, we'll send it to AI and we'll be done. The problem is you want to add your documents. So you have your documents and you want to include them. And you cannot just load this document set to AI because in the end you'll get it confused. That's similar to humans. They will also be confused by thousands and thousands of pages, and they will not know what's important, what's not. So you add your data, okay? Your data. But your data, that's not so good. Your data, you will have to store it somewhere. And of course, the best place to store it will be a database. Okay, let's do a database. But we quickly realized that a regular database doesn't work because it's not great at storing documents. How do you search? So you think, I'll do a keyword database, okay? I'll store my documents in this database and I'll be good. But keyword search is old invention, and that was already done once. Do you think, is there anything better? Yes. The answer is that there is a database by meaning, okay? Meaning database, or it also has another name. It's vector database. So that you can use, and there are many of them, and I will show you one in our lab. And it first takes your query, sends it to the database where you have your documents by meaning, and then back come your documents, and now you're going with AI. So we change it a little bit. We add your data, which you already stored a database in that, and now your query goes first against your meaning database. So now that becomes just one more step, right? Here, your data is in your database by meaning, or also called vector, because you assign a vector to a meaning. And with that, so query goes here. After that, it goes to AI. That is essentially the story, and I'm going to show that to you. I see that you're discussing, and that's wonderful. All right. So in the our lab, what do we do? What we do is lesson number 1. So we are going to process documents, and they are found here in docs. And we are going to do exactly that. We will store them in our database. But keep in mind that we'll need to break them into paragraphs, some manageable pieces. That's the same story. When you were dealing with keyword databases, you wouldn't store 1,000 pages as one element because you really need to refer to a specific, let's say, Shakespeare play. You have to say it's that play, it's that act, it's scene number 3. That's how usually people do referencing. So we will do the same here, except that instead of Shakespeare, we'll use Andrew Ng and his lectures. So what we do is first, and for those people who are familiar, they know full well what I'm doing. But for those who are not, I import the important libraries. I bring in the OS, operating system library, to be able to read my documents from the local drive. That's where it is. I also bring OpenAI as a source intelligence. I bring the secrets. I bring the .env package, and that will allow me to read the .env file, which is a good way of doing your prototypes. For the real stuff, you would use a vault, a secret vault in the cloud, but for that, it's perfectly okay. And some link chain, because that will be the glue. You can build your RAG architecture in many, many ways and libraries. That one is taking the document and understanding that it's 22 pages. By the way, it's not interesting if you just see up front what will happen. So I'm cleaning that. And I decided to store all my labs with the answer. That's okay. At least if it doesn't work, then I can show the answers. But this time it does work, or it should work. So I'll do it in front of your eyes. So I'm loading the documents. That's load documents. And now I want to know how many pages. Okay, 22. So show me some of that. Show me some of that. And that's instructor Andrew A talking. And he says, welcome to my course. Well, we will add right away a little bit of complexity. We'll say, and what is this document? Here is the metadata for that document. So it's an Acrobat that I'm reading. It's quite an ancient Acrobat, and that's what it is. Now, I will once in a while look at the chat, but I will not always look at that. Okay, you can keep chatting, and if anybody needs to go to their meeting, fine, because that's all recorded anyway. You will see it. All right. So this time we are going to do more. We're going to get it from YouTube, and we will load it, and we will translate it from there. Now, by the way, honestly, I'm not sure if that is an instant translation or we have a YouTube recording. But however, you understand that, of course, we would be able to take the recording and convert it to text. All right, and you see those today. That is the style that way you see the person. All right, but now what we're going to do is look at other ways to load the data. What we really want to emphasize is that we're going to take the documents and stick them into the database. Now, that's where the trick comes in. It's not any database. It's what's called a Notion database, which reflects the same idea that we're storing text by meaning. Okay, and then we see that's the data. The next step that we're going to do, and don't worry, I will not go through everything, is the basic steps. What you need to do is a couple things. First of all, you need to split the documents. As I mentioned, the documents are usually pretty big. That's not what we want. We want smaller pieces so that it will make sense of them. So there you are, making sense of them and breaking them into smaller pieces. That illustrates how you can break it into smaller pieces, right? And when we take the document, we anyway structure it in our mind, which will come to a more interesting stuff later, but right now technical steps. Breaking them into pieces. Token splitting means that you have tokens. That's what you pay to AI for sending you tokens, and it charges for sending back responses. Tokens. So tokens are just like words, except that they're usually smaller. For example, let's say there is an email, peter@heaven.com. Okay. Well, Peter can be broken as a separate token, or it can be peter@heaven.com as a complete email. So that's your choice. There is a token splitting strategy that you use. In any case, you break them into tokens and store them by tokens in the database. Okay, having done that, you convert them to vectors. That's where you need some more knowledge. Vector conversion is not straightforward. It's a neural network that does it, but we believe it. We believe that it does convert the text to meaning and represent that meaning by embeddings. Now, what's a meaning? Well, we don't know. But when two things mean approximately the same, that's when we say we understand what they do, and that's embedding. Now, embedding is a result of machine learning. It's a result of neural network. So I am sorry that I think I stopped sharing. Sharing again. Share. I lost that share somehow. So we were saying that yes, you can convert the text to the meaning, and that's not a trivial operation. So usually you reuse some existing libraries. In this case, we open We use OpenAI embeddings. They did it for us and they do it for free. All right, what's the little comment here? Chunk. Yeah, that's very deep. You can look at chunks. How do you choose them? How do you select them? And that's a long investigation. Thank you, Greg, for that. So that's embeddings. And after that, you convert them using the embeddings. You convert them to vector store and store them there. You know what? I will not run all the labs, but that's an illustration what you can do. And then that's how you would retrieve these relevant pieces. That's how you would ask questions and get answers by meaning. And that would be an example of chat. So let's just show you the result. The result is that you can do the chat. And even if you add the memory part of LangChain, then you can create a nice looking chatbot. And to really make it alive, I would have to run, but I'm not going to. So that's what I wanted to show you. That's Rabbit. That's what people often talk about. That's how I build stuff, and we went through that. Now, the next step of what we're talking about, I promised to tell you how do I deal with the, it's here, here with the data extraction. Last week it was not finished. And I said, we'll see if I even completed. Well, it was completed. It was completed, and I've done it by working with AI. So you can do AI in two ways, my own classification. One is you work with it to make sure that that you write code, or really it writes code, you read this code, you keep adjusting it. The end result, it worked. Finally, I got a message mark, that's good enough. All right, when I got this message, good enough, by then the script was 350 lines long, and I'll show you what kind of script it gave me. Okay, so for that, we need to go to another repo. It's Kyle repo, and it is in REST, and it should be extract a REST record, because that's what I'm doing. It's doing that's poly, police documents. And what inspired me, which I think I told you last time, is that if you run the latest model O3, in other words, if you're in ChatGPT, and if you run O3, and I have to confess, I splashed. I did pay $200, and it gave me no limit thinking. So when you do that, it shows you exactly how it thinks. And that inspired my idea that, oh, it's just writing Python code, so why don't we do it together? We did it. We did it. O3 also gives you very nice documentation. So it explains what it is, why it did even the versions. It said that's what we did in this version, but somehow versions got lost. In any case, what I'm showing you is tremendously complicated regexes, and all of that is because the documents are semi-structured. They're not completely structured, but so that you would absolutely need AI. They're not structured perfectly either. All right, so look at that. Very complicated code that we created together, me and AI. And that's one way. I would not call it agentic. I would call it totally the opposite. Here is 356 lines. All right, that's how I did it. It worked. There is another way. What's the other way? The other way is agentic. That's exactly it. Agentic. So let's go back to where we are. Agentic is when you're saying, no, don't write code, just do stuff. And you do it as part of your code. So now your code execution, you can compare it to a robot with organic parts. There are some parts that are still code, but there are also parts of your execution which ask AI to do that. That is really small agent. And we didn't do it completely last time. We don't do it today, but we are going to do it next week. So it will come here. And I was talking about, did I do it in the end? Yes. Uh, did I show you how we do LangChain and talk to your documents? Yes. Now we're almost done. Almost done. The only question is grab. Yesterday or last time, somebody suggested that you will present what you saw at the conference, right? And I left a little time for you. So if you want, there you are, stop share, Greg. Are you ready for that kind of presentation? But I'm not putting you on the spot. But rather, if you are not ready, I'll continue, but you have a chance. All right, so if you have some notes, what I'll do is this. First of all, you need the mic. Okay, you got the mic. You're here. And you can share screen.
Okay, just a minute.
Yeah, so real good. And I'll get myself a mic. So, oh, sorry, the headset so that I can hear you better.
Testing 1, 2, 3. This is Greg.
Greg, you're doing wonderful.
Okay. Just looking for the share screen.
It's at the bottom, a green button.
I see chat, react, raise hand, Q&A, show captions.
Chat, react, and in between there is share screen. You don't see that?
No.
Oh, it's terrible. Hmm.
There may be a Zoom option to promote somebody from a viewer to
Ah, yes,
presenter.
that's exactly it. There is such an option. Let me see. Oh, that's because it's a webinar. So, more. Not yet. Let me try that. That place where you are, more. Promote to panelist. That I think is it.
Yeah. Okay, join us.
Okay, so we should see your screen instead. You won't silent. Okay, now I think you begin to see the screen. Okay, but you went on mute. Note that. And by the way, all proposals, I see Stephen McInerney. I'm putting that on my things to do next also.
Okay. So I did the screen share. I'll click it again.
Yeah, I see it. Wonderful.
Oh, you do see it. Okay.
Yeah, I
I'm
can
just not
hear
I'm
and I
not
can
seeing it
say
in the
it's
webinar.
just wonderful.
Okay.
I remind
So
myself of Wilbur who can talk, but other than that, I'm silent.
okay, sounds good. Um, so just as context, I was doing some of this investigation as part of CQ, the company I work for. So we're working on Gen AI consulting. So in advance to doing consulting projects, we're building an app framework that can be reusable. So I was looking into N8N as something that we might use as part of the things that we build on. So we have existing infrastructure that's general RAG, has chatbot, um, guardrails, and other kinds of things, but something that's easy to reconfigure. So you can change the vector database, change the embedding model, change other things in a flexible way. And we have user interfaces. So as we get new consulting projects, I was looking at tools like this. There was an AI user conference in San Francisco, and N8N was a vendor there. So it was part of a type of open source workflow automation tool that existed before there was agents, or before there was like ChatGPT 2.0. So they were doing this since like 2018. So if you think of a Venn diagram, this workflow automation was something that existed before a lot of the ChatGPT and ChatGPT based agents. But the workflow would be if you're processing a loan application, you might have different steps to go through: step one, step two, step three, integrating with different solutions. Um, and so uh, they they have a general product over here that has a lot of connectors and pre-built um, things. So I was also interested, like, what's an easy way if we have to integrate with Salesforce and or ServiceNow or a bunch of other enterprise apps. So there's certainly MCP, the Anthropic's model container protocol, as one thing, but then also if other tools had connectors, that was of interest as well. So it's something we're looking into. It's being N8N was something that looked attractive because they were a vendor. Others that weren't at the show were Zapier and Make. That could be something to look at. But they have a lot of integrations and a lot of uh, ready to use templates in a library. So if we're in a consulting organization and we want to start and build faster with some pre-built templates, then we can look at those as a way to get going. It is oriented at more of a no code um, or and I'm less concerned about that because the team I'm leading of data scientists are comfortable in Python and development and Docker and running on AWS, so that's fine. Um, but if it helps them be faster, so that was the area I was interested in. So that's the context. But for example, they have workflow automation templates, and let's see here, I'll shrink it a bit. Um, and so if, let's say you want to click on support. So one of our demo apps is a customer support RAG, where the RAG is looking up different manuals on PCs and phones. So we're load the manuals in there. So I was curious, click on support, and then they had 74 different results. So a multi-agent AI clinic management with WhatsApp, Telegram, and Google Calendar. So it wouldn't be necessarily a complete application, but it could be part of an application that you could look into. Some of these are free, some of them are they do have a charge, but it's like $20 a month. So something that wouldn't necessarily be out of the realm if we're doing a consulting project. We could kind of compare the buy versus build. How much time does it take to get something working? And then, so clicking on this
Yes.
first one, then they have clinic management. Now, where this gets back, I don't want to circle around too much on the workflow, but I was doing this is also looking at multi-agent, where you go from step one to step two to step three. You can do that in LangChain, and LangChain has tools where the tools can make calls to WhatsApp or Telegram or Google Calendar. You can do MCP calls to like Google Calendar and WhatsApp. So part of what I was looking into is if there's an overlap of features, where does it make sense to use things in MCP? Where does it make sense to use things in maybe N8N? And not that we have to use a tool, but where is it practical in a consulting basis? So that was my mindset when I was looking into these. So just drilling down into this one example, then they were talking about they have AI specialized agents that can help with what's up and patient support, appointment confirmations, internal rescheduling. So it has some functionality built in. And I may not want this exact fit, but sometimes it's easier to start with something and tweak it and change it. Um, Omni-channel, so it doesn't matter if the people called in on WhatsApp or Telegram. And I imagine later on, if you wanted to have things to support, they're doing Google Calendar, so I'm sure you could handle communication with Gmail as well. So handle task management, um, appointment reminders, media processing, escalation to human support. So these are things that could be done, but part of the investigation is, will this help us get things done faster to meet the client requirements for a project? Um, so, so here they're claiming about 400 integrations or so on MCP. Let's see, where's the, so where was my MCP list? So on the MCP and the GitHub, then they have a section that talks about some reference servers that you can connect to third-party servers. So servers are the integration in the MCP terminology. Um, so Google Drive, Google Maps, Postgres, things like that. So that seems more infrastructure, SQL, as opposed to something like a Salesforce level integration, kind of enterprise app. But there's a long list here. So one of the things I'll have one of my people do is kind of create a worksheet with what's a list of all the servers in MCP, what's a list of all the connectors in N8N, and if as we're evaluating other things, where the idea comes up with the client comes to us with a particular requirement and it requires integration with these 5 things, we can quick search in the worksheet and then find out what's the easier integration. So that could be one path to look into as far as considering these. Um, and then they have a GitHub repo, um, and then just looking into some of their no code, like looping over items. So part of this is, I'll ask my team, is this faster than just coding directly in Python? Or is this useful? Now, this may be a display that has a backend code behind it. Maybe we just work at the backend code level. So I'm less concerned about the user interface, unless some of the requirements from our customer says, oh, we want to be able to modify some workflow, and the clients want a no-code interface, then this could be useful for that. Um, uh, and then just talking about some of the integrations. So this is just notes kind of as we're diving in to learn about something new, just putting it in there. They have hosting options. I would probably personally for my organization be less interested in hosting options because we can just handle the AWS hosting and the security, Docker, Kubernetes, things like that. But it looks like the enterprise edition has more security features. So if you want to get up to speed faster, you don't have the staffing to handle some of that, then the enterprise paid edition may be fine. For myself, I'll probably start with the community free if we do some um, uh, development of our prototype reusable framework. Um, so running N8N on your own server requires some DevOps knowledge. Um, I we can get people that'll be fine for that. So that's not a problem. Um, and again, talking about Kubernetes, so they can support Kubernetes-based deployments. So that could be useful as so it looks like a more mature system, if nothing else. So even if I don't use those features, just knowing that they're there and they have some, and then some of the pricing information down here.
That's very nice. Now, I think it's useful. If you could send me all the notes that you can send, that will be great.
Okay.
Yeah,
Uh,
we'll put them.
yeah, that sounds fine. So, so that's just kind of a quick overview.
I'm also asking so that we would publish our webinar like in a day or two, because right now there is a delay. What if I even personally want to review it? At least that will be done also.
Yes. Yeah. And again, this is kind of like a 1 or 2 days effort of note gathering. So
Yes,
it's not any kind of academic review of literature, but it's a quick way just to kind of get
that's absolutely,
a sense of what's going on.
yeah, very nice. All right,
So,
awesome, guys. I have to round it up. Sorry,
yeah,
but unbelievable. Very nice. Thank you very much, Greg. And
sure.
everybody, thank you very much. I'll try to put it in here so that everybody will get a summary of what we've done. All right.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank
Have
you.
a good weekend and a good year.
Okay.
Thank you.